Hello everyone, myself Ashim Das, and today we are going to continue with the third chapter of History Class 10, that is Nationalism in India. And earlier we have already done 4 videos and one introduction video, and links are given below. You can see there and you can understand in the playlist. And today we are going to discuss the last topic, and the name of the topic is the sense of collective belonging. So this is number 4 topic, and this is the last part of the lesson. You can look at a picture that is given here. This picture is of Lokmanya Tilak, also known as Bal Gangadhar Tilak, and you can observe the picture here. This beautiful portrait has so many designs, and in each corner of the particular painting here you can see that there are different things like temple, church, mosque. These are the different religious institutions of the different religions in our country. It means that we are all united as one country. So this is the spread of nationalism. How nationalism spread when the people began to believe that they are all the part of the same nation. It doesn't matter they are from different religions. Some are Hindus, they are Muslims and Christians, and different types of religious groups are there. But nationalism spread when people began to believe that yes, we are all together and part of the same nation. When they discover that some unity is there that binds them together, that brings them together and puts them together. But how did this nation become a reality in the minds of the people? How did the people belonging to different communities, regions, language groups, different religions develop a sense of collective belonging? It was not so easy, because India is a country where so many diversities you can find, and there is a lot of variety in different communities. Now, this sense of belonging, collective belonging, came partly through the experience of united struggles. But there were also a variety of cultural processes through which nationalism captured people's imagination. History and fiction, imaginary stories, folklore, the folk tales of the different states and villages, songs, popular prints and pictures, symbols like our Ashok Chakra and the Charkha spinning wheel all played a very important part in the making of nationalism. And by the word united struggles, we mean here that even though the people were different in language, people were different in different kinds of communities, religion, etc., but they were all united against the British. They were struggling against the British, and that is what made them together. And this is the cultural process. But the cultural process played a very important role in bringing the people together. So keep aside the struggles on one side and just think that when the national anthem is sung, and all the people feel that this is my country's song. Why? Because all are different, but the imagination of a united country brought them together. Now, the identity of the nation, as you already have seen in chapter number 1. In chapter number 1, page number 23 and 25, you can see there is a picture of Germania. So they have always shown that the country as a symbolized in a figure or image, and usually it is always a female figure. This helps to create an image by which people can identify the nation. It was in the 20th century, with the growth of nationalism, that the idea of India came to be visually associated with the image of Bharat Mata. So people began to see our country as mother, as our motherland. Like this is a personification, you can say a kind of allegory. Allegory is kind of a representation of a idea through a visual image or something like that. And this Bharat Mata was a very big success to bring the people together. The first image you can see here, the image was first created by Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyay, and the 20th century people had already begun to understand the meaning of nationalism. So they knew that we must be together because we have to go for a united country, and we have to go for a united struggle against the British. And this image was first created by Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyay, also known as Bankim Chandra Chatterjee, and in 1870s he wrote the famous song as a hymn. It was a religious prayer to God, to his motherland actually, and he named Vande Mataram. So glory to our mother. So Vande Mataram is now our national song, and later on this Vande Mataram, this hymn, this religious prayer for adoring our country or our motherland was included in his novel Anand Math, and it was widely sung during the Swadeshi movement when it took place in Bengal. So, moved by the Swadeshi movement, Avanindranath Tagore was the nephew of Rabindranath Tagore, and he painted his famous image of Bharat Mata. You can see the picture here, figure 12. And in this painting, Bharat Mata is portrayed as an ascetic figure like a person who has left the worldly pleasures and desires, a sannyasi who has left everything for her spirituality. So she is calm here and composed and divine, related to God, divinity, pure and spiritual, related to the spirituality of a person. So in subsequent years, the image of Bharat Mata has acquired many different forms. It is not the only image of Bharat Mata. When time passed, many different kinds of versions of Bharat Mata's pictures started circulating in popular prints, and it was painted by different artists. You can see the next figure 14 in the next page. Here you will see that Bharat Mata has been changed into a kind of goddess, and also devotion to this mother figure came to be seen as evidence of one's nationalism. So like the people love their mothers, so same way love towards your country, devotion towards your motherland could come if you respect the picture of Bharat Mata. So we come to know that how ideas of nationalism also developed through a movement to revive the Indian folklore. The folklore were the different songs and stories, the different kinds of traditional things which were passed from generation to generation. And in late 19th century, nationalists began reading the folk tales sung by the birds, the wandering singers from one village to another, and they toured the different villages to gather these folk songs and legends, like we saw in the lesson The Rise of Nationalism in Europe, where Grimm brothers went from village to village collecting the tales. So these tales, they believed, gave a true picture of the traditional culture that had been corrupted and damaged by the outside forces. So it was essential to preserve this folk tradition. So we came to know that the British came from outside and they corrupted and damaged the traditional culture of our villages and of our Indian different kinds of villages, and also our Indian strength. And we also came to know it was essential to preserve this folk tradition. Why? Because in order to discover one's national identity and restore a sense of pride in one's past. So a person who can be proud that he belonged to such kind of a community, such kind of country where this kind of great traditional cultural stories, folk tales were there. So this was something that every Indian must have been proud of, and that came when the people heard these stories and they began to associate themselves and have a sense of pride in their own past. In Bengal, Rabindranath Tagore himself went from village to village and places and collecting the ballads. The ballads are like musical poems and also nursery rhymes that we know, and myths, mythological stories, and different kinds of events. And these things led to the movement for folk revival. And here you can see also the picture of Jawaharlal Nehru, and here he is shown holding the picture of Bharat Mata close to his heart. That means he loved his Bharat Mata so much, like country, his own motherland. So here we come to know in Madras also, Natesha Shastri published a very big 4-volume collection of the Tamil folk tales, and these folk tales were from Tamil Nadu, and he named it the folklore of southern India. And he believed that folklore or the folk tales was national treasure. It belonged to our country, our nation, and it was the most trustworthy, where you can believe it was the most trustworthy manifestation or the presentation or display of people's real thought and characteristics. So by looking at the folk tales and by hearing the folk tales, we can understand it is the most believable and trustworthy manifestation or presentation of people's thoughts, real thoughts and characteristics, not damaged by the outside and the corrupt forces. Also the picture of Bharat Mata you can see here, where she is shown as like a different version, and two more goddesses pictures are also there, and she is here a little bit of more aggressive and defensive, and lion and elephant is also shown nearby. So as the national movement developed, nationalist leaders became more and more aware of such kind of icons and symbols in unifying the people and inspiring in them a feeling of nationalism. So these different pictures, these symbols, these icons, it brought the people together. And even the nationalist leaders, like the leaders of Congress, Mahatma Gandhi, Jawaharlal Nehru, all of them, they also knew that by showing these all, the people would feel some kind of feeling towards their country, and this would help them to grow nationalism and bring the people together. During the Swadeshi movement in Bengal, a tricolor, like we have now the tricolor, our Tiranga, our national flag, at the time the first tricolor was made, and it was red, green and yellow color was designed, and it had 8 lotuses, the lotus flower, representing 8 provinces or states of British India. During that time, 8 provinces or states were divided by British to administer India. And the crescent moon is always very much important in both Hindu religion and the Muslim religion, because many religious activities or many religious festivals are done by observing the moon only. So it brought a kind of unity among the people. And by 1921, Gandhiji had also designed the Swaraj flag. So he said that we want independence, and the Swaraj flag was made. It was again a tricolor, 3 colors were used. This time also red, green and white was used this time, and it had a spinning wheel like the charkha or the spinning wheel where she used to make the khadi clothes, and it was in the center, placed in the center, representing Gandhian ideal of self-help. Gandhi used to say that we must do our work by ourselves, self-help, and this is what he wanted to show in front of the people by giving that icon. Carrying the flag and holding it aloft, so if you hold it, that means during the marches it became a symbol of defiance. You are against the country, you are against the British. And what we also came to know is that another means of feeling of nationalism was through reinterpretation of the history. By the end of the 19th century, many Indians began feeling that to instill a sense of pride in the nation, Indian history had to be thought about differently. So we came to know that if the people thought that our history was great, if our ancestors had been so brave, then we also should be brave. We also should be aware of our history. So by the end of the 19th century, many Indians began to feel that yes, we also have a sense of pride in our country. Why? Because our ancestors, our old kings and our old rulers had always displayed great success in administration of our country. But the British always saw the Indians as backward and primitive. They never thought that they are capable of governing themselves. They are incapable. They are not able to control their own country. But in response, the Indians began looking into the past to discover India's great achievements, and whatever great kings we had, whoever great rulers were there, these all things were highlighted and these were made popular among the people. And the writers also wrote about the glorious developments in the ancient times when art and architecture and science and mathematics and religion and culture and law and philosophy, crafts and trade had flourished a lot. And this glorious time in their view was followed by a history of decline. So our country was there when our India was there, when Britain was not fully colonized also, and it was not a proper developed country. So our culture goes back 1,000 years. But this glorious time, whatever had been there from the ancient times, had all been forgotten. There was a history of decline. Why? Because our country was colonized by the British and we had forgotten what our past was. These nationalist histories urged the readers to take pride in India's great achievements of the past and struggle to change the miserable conditions of life under British rule. These efforts to unify people were not without any problems. When the past being glorified was Hindu, when the images celebrated were drawn from Hindu iconography, then the people of other communities felt offended and left out. So in the last paragraph you can also see the efforts to unify the people were not without any problems. When the past was being glorified, it was mainly about the Hindus, when the images celebrated were mainly drawn from the Hindu iconography. So the people of the other communities felt left out and separated, and they could not relate to the movement directly. So these were some of the problems, and the Hindu dominated society mainly took over the representation of India and Bharat Mata. In the last paragraph, we'll come to know about the conclusion. Now, let us find out about this beautiful picture of Bharat Mata, and this is the picture of Bharat Mata. We can see here that it has little bit changed from the earlier one that we got in the last page, and here you can see Bharat Mata has been compared with the goddesses of Hindu mythology or iconography. You can see the pictures of goddesses Lakshmi and Saraswati, and also Bharat Mata. So Bharat Mata is the contrast of the picture here, and contrasting picture of the last one, because in the last one we find that she is like an ascetic, and here we find that like she is a warrior, she is holding the trishul, and she is with the very brave animal that is lion, and also very strong animal that is your elephant, and that is why it has been portrayed here as a different picture of Bharat Mata. In the next paragraph, we come to know about the conclusion. In the conclusion, here we see a picture of the women marching towards a procession in Bombay during the Quit India movement. You can read about the Quit India movement also a little bit when it is given in a blue box, and it is for your information. You can read here. It started on 14 July 1942, and in the last paragraph you will find out the conclusion. In the conclusion you will read that how the unfolding of the Khilafat movement and the non-cooperation movement took place, and after that it led to differences among the people, and how it was called off, and after that how again the civil disobedience movement was started with the beginning of the Salt Satyagraha, and there were many attempts by the leaders, and there were many such kind of events which made the people divide into different groups on the name of nationalism also. And as a whole we can say that India was a country where many voices were coming out, and all of them wanted Swaraj, and it was felt in different ways, in different methods by the people. So I hope all of you have understood that particular lesson, nationalism in India, from history class 10, and these are the various videos we have already done on this topic. I request you to go through these videos once more and read the NCERT book in order to get a thorough knowledge of the topic nationalism in India, and it was a very good representation of nationalism, how the people decided to come together and bring an end to the struggle by fighting against the British movement. Thank you. See you next time. Bye.